Now, I'm not specifically talking about cut content that never made it into the game or anything like that. No, I'm talking about the butchering of Subsistence specifically, and how when Bluepoint ported the game over to the next generation of consoles, which were the Xbox 360 and PS3 at the time, we lost several amazing modes. Don't get me wrong, MGS3 HD is still one of the best ways to play Snake Eater, but it is far from a complete version. We got higher frame rates and cleaner visuals, but we lost the strange, playful and experimental content that made Subsistence feel like not only a celebration of MGS3, but the franchise as a whole. To start things off with, Metal Gear Online, which is probably the biggest and most well-known component that was cut and lost with time, as Subsistence originally featured the very first and original version of Metal Gear Online, which was a full PS2 Online multiplayer component. Unfortunately, it was shut down years ago with no real means of going back outside of the incredible community-driven project that is Save MGO. Now, even back then, on the PlayStation 2, the multiplayer capabilities were very limited. You probably had to have an Ethernet cable or an adapter or something like that. So even getting MGO working was a bit of a hassle. Not everyone could do it. I know for a fact I couldn't do it back then. So I unfortunately missed out on the hype that was MGO. Its removal from the HD collection makes some practical sense, but to me it still matters historically because it wasn't just seen as Subsistence, like, you know, it's just MGS3 with a better camera. In my opinion, it was the first real attempt at translating Metal Gear Stealth into online multiplayer, and it worked splendidly at the time. Back then, the PlayStation 2 online capabilities were very limited. I don't think you could even do full online unless you had an Ethernet cable, and that required a specific adapter port, if I'm not mistaken. So it did take a bit of a hassle to get things working, so not everyone could have this. You know, not everyone had their modem near their PlayStation or whatever at the time. I know for a fact I didn't, you know, so I missed out on the whole thing. And like I said, yeah, I never got a chance to play it on the official servers, which is a shame, because nothing is stopping Konami from bringing this back in some shape or form via peer-to-peer or Steamworks even, you know, or just by talking to the Save MGO folk and getting something going. There's clearly a lot of passion there, and the fact they've still got a playable and working version of it says a lot. If you go to the MGO site and check it for yourself, you can actually see that there's people still running games and playing it. So still, this being cut from the HD collection at least made some sense, but having this accessible on Xbox 360 or PS3 back in the day would have really pulled in numbers, I feel, and you know, it would have probably still been active till today, because the Metal Gear community and like everyone in this community is very passionate about these games. Snake vs. Monkey. This is a real nostalgia piece for the fans, and a truly memorable missing mode. The Ape Escape crossover had Snake capturing monkeys across MGS3 style stages. These were stages you would have seen in the game previously, maybe just remixed around, but you know, with the monkeys running around. And GameSpot noted that Subsistence brought Snake vs. Monkey back with additional levels, and of course the later HD era versions removed it. The Master Collection version doesn't have it either, unfortunately. The most realistic and likely reason for its removal was licensing and platform politics. Ape Escape is unfortunately a Sony property. And this is probably why the mode disappeared from the multi-platform release. Dogshit console wars, as usual, are a huge reason why content gets cut or lost. I mean, this has happened time and time and again. Delta later handled this by using Ape Escape on PlayStation and Steam, whereas Xbox got Snake vs. Bomberman, which is actually pretty cool. So that, you know, they managed to get everything working and licensed, which is great. I just kind of wish we got it for the Master Collection as well, because, you know, I prefer the OG game, but hey, that's that. Now this one stings a little bit, and I have no idea why it was removed. Guy Savage and Snake's Nightmare. This is probably the coolest lost piece, and something I forget is even real to this day. After the torture and prison sequence, as many of you know, saving and reloading the game could throw you into a strange hack and slash nightmare minigame. It was actually really fun to play, and it felt like some sort of hidden demo or prototype for a game. I remember when I ran across this for the first time, I genuinely thought I booted up the wrong game, you know? So it was a really awesome thing to have. Later releases, but like, you know, later releases completely cut it. And I have no idea why that was the case, because it felt like a genuine canonical part of the experience. You know, Snake is having a nightmare, and in his nightmare he's chopping up fucking demons. But there was no reason to cut this at all. Like, all things considered, it's not like this would have taken up a lot of space, you know, on a PS2 disc. I don't know, maybe the discs at the time couldn't handle this extra space, or maybe there was some technical reason for it, because, you know, when you do switch to that mini game, it is like the game kind of just launches a different game, and the same can be said for Delta. But either way, it's a massive shame. Now, thankfully, Delta brought back Guy Savage, although in a different light, and it was a joy to re-experience this after all these years. You know, they kind of kept it in the game, and it's very obvious to me that they meant to keep it, because they brought this back for Delta. But this still means that the PS2 version is the only way to originally experience the original Guy Savage, unless you're emulating the game, of course. So, this being cut does sting for me personally, and I don't know why they did it in the HD collection. The more you delve into the HD collection, the more it seems like there are a lot of flaws and missing things. Next up, we've got Dual Rush and Boss Rush mode, which I cannot fathom why this was cut in the first place, right? Subsistence had a cool duel mode, which let players replay boss fights without going through the entire campaign. It was an amazing tool for speedrunners or just players wanting to test their mettle against bosses or improve. You could choose, you know, all the difficulties, you know, how you fought the bosses. I think you could choose the difficulty, but regardless of the hearsay that I'm preaching here, you could practice against bosses. You could kind of finesse your technique, right? And the fact that this was cut is plain and simply moronic. I just don't understand why they would have cut this. There was no licensing tied to it, no obvious platform issue, and absolutely no reason to cut it from the release of the game. I don't think this would have even taken up much space, right, on the disc. And not to mention, each boss fight had a cool little piece of artwork whenever the battle started. I'm really bummed out about this one, and I'm sure many of you are too. If you're trying to get the big boss, Foxhound, whatever emblem in MGS3, this was a really good way to practice your strats against bosses. But now you can't even do that. You have to manually make saves or backups before each boss fight. So it kind of fucking sucks that you can't do that. But oh well, that's some of the lost content we got. Secret Theater. This was a very Kojima-era bonus mode, parody cutscenes, joke endings, and silly alternative takes on serious scenes. In general, it was very light-hearted, very on-the-nose Kojima humor, and it was fun, you know. Secret Theater added extra charm to an already content-filled release, and it's exactly the kind of thing that made Subsistence feel special. So without giving you a bunch of word jargon, it was just a few secret videos that you could unlock, or you had access to. And they showed a bunch of funny stuff, like very comedic clips, videos, you know, from the game, like characters switched around in cutscenes or just silly shit happening. Now, this was gone in the HD collection. I don't know why they removed it, but, you know, like everything else mentioned in this video, it's just not there. Baffles me, but Delta actually added this mode back in with 3 new videos, believe it or not, 3 new ones, which is great because they all carry the same tone and charm as the original. But for years, if you're playing the HD collection and Master collection, this entire part of the game's personality was just gone, vaporized, reduced to fucking atoms, right? So yeah, the cuts for this, I do not understand. Now here's an interesting one that's, I don't think I haven't even heard about this one, but I've seen the artwork for this one. The Existence disc. Now, we're going very deep into the fucking topic at hand here, because not many of you may know, or you know, you may know this, that there was a third disc called Existence, which was included with certain Subsistence releases, like Subsistence, Existence, Substance, fucking, I'm getting confused here, but Existence is more or less a 3.5-hour movie edit of the game's cutscenes. Now, it is by no means essential for gameplay or anything like that, but it adds to the idea that Subsistence was treated like a deluxe archive of the game, or basically what in modern terms is a Game of the Year edition. It was, that is fucking awesome, you know. Kojima initially said that it was for people who could not finish the game but still wanted to know the story. It's another thing I wish we got into the Master Collection edition of the game. If it's the Master Collection, it should fucking include everything. I've said this before and I'll say it again, but alas, it is what it is. But just having MGS3 kind of as a movie is amazing. I'm pretty sure you can find this on YouTube. so it's not really that big of a deal. But for someone that's into game preservation and, you know, just having these games available on modern platforms and just having all the content, it kind of pisses me off that a lot of this stuff was cut and is missing. Now, don't get me wrong, the HD collection and master collections are still excellent ways to experience the, you know, the game that is MGS3, but they are certainly not feature complete or content complete. What once was no longer is, unfortunately. What can I say? You know, they both, these versions of the game, they still have MGS3. You know, that's kind of the main meal we're after. But all this like extra content, I feel like it's just lost with time. Like, you know, yeah, you can experience it in Delta, but you can't ever experience it the way it was originally unless you emulate or you have the original game. I can understand some of the content being cut due to licensing, like Snake vs. Monkey, or, you know, server shutdowns for MGO, well, whatever else other bits, but stuff like Secret Theater, Duel Mode, and even Guy Savage, it makes very little sense to me in the grand scheme of things. It's very baffling that they would do this. I don't know if this was like an executive decision from Valve that said, hey, cut this shit, like we don't need it, focus on the game. I really don't know. He's hoping that one day we get a remaster that is truly feature complete, similar to the recent Legacy of Kain Defiance remastered, where the goal was not just to make the game look nicer, but to preserve and restore as much of its history as possible. If we're looking at actual game remasters, and if you're a fan of that franchise, I highly recommend you check it out because it's absolutely amazing. It's probably the best remaster I've ever laid my eyes on. And I'm not really big on remasters, you know. I prefer modding the games myself, but hey, it is what it is. Now, if you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching and peace.